Why did Britain go to war with China? Not over land, not over power, but over opium. When China tried to stop the trade, Britain responded with force, launching a war that China was not prepared to fight. The result was a shocking defeat and a turning point that would change China forever. In the early 1800s, China was one of the richest and most powerful empires in the world. Under the Qing dynasty, China had enjoyed long periods of stability, strong government, and a thriving economy. Chinese goods, tea, silk, and porcelain were in high demand across Europe. But China had little interest in what foreign countries had to offer. Trade was tightly controlled, and foreign merchants were restricted to a single port. From China's point of view, it already had everything it needed. There was no reason to open its doors to the outside world. But this closed system created a problem, not for China, but for Britain. British merchants were eager to buy Chinese goods, especially tea, but China wanted little in return. As a result, silver flowed steadily out of Britain and into China. Over time, this imbalance became a serious problem. Britain needed a way to reverse the flow, to sell something China would buy, and it found a solution, one that would have devastating consequences. Opium. Opium spread quickly across China. At first, its use was limited, but over time it moved far beyond the ports and into everyday life. Addiction grew, not just among the poor, but among officials, soldiers, and scholars. Families were affected, lives were disrupted, the effects were serious. Work declined, discipline weakened. And the flow of silver, once coming into China, now began to reverse. The government could see the damage. This was no longer just a trade issue, it was a social and economic crisis, and it could not be ignored. The Qing government decided it had to act. In 1839, an official named Lin Zexu was sent to the southern port of Canton with a clear mission: end the opium trade. Lin acted quickly. Foreign merchants were ordered to hand over their opium supplies. Trade was suspended. Pressure increased. Eventually, thousands of chests of opium were seized. In a dramatic display, the drug was destroyed, dumped into the sea. From China's point of view, this was a necessary step to protect its people. But from Britain's point of view, it was an attack on trade and on property, and the response would be swift. Britain responded with force. Warships were sent to China's coast, modern vessels, armed with powerful cannons and backed by industrial technology. China was not prepared for this kind of warfare. When British ships opened fire, their weapons had a range and power that Chinese defenses could not match. Its defenses were outdated and no match for modern weapons. As the fighting began, British forces moved quickly, attacking ports and controlling key waterways. Their ships could move along the coast and strike where they chose. City after city fell. For many in China, this was the first time they had faced a force like this, fast, distant, and overwhelming. The speed of the defeat came as a shock. What had begun as a dispute over trade had become a war China could not win. In 1842, the war ended in defeat for China. In a formal setting, officials met to finalize the terms, a moment that marked a clear shift in power. The Qing government was forced to sign the Treaty of Nanjing. It was an unequal agreement, one China had little choice but to accept. China was required to open several ports to foreign trade. Foreign ships began to enter Chinese harbors more freely, and long-standing restrictions were broken. Tariffs were limited, and the island of Hong Kong was ceded to Britain. For the first time, China could no longer fully control its own borders or its own trade. What had once been a position of strength had become a position of vulnerability. The Opium War marked the beginning of a new and difficult era, an era of growing foreign pressure and a struggle to remain in control. This was not just a war between nations, it was a moment that would shape how China would see the world and how the world would see China. It was a turning point in history, and China would never be quite the same again.
What do you think? Was this conflict unavoidable? Or could it have been prevented? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
If you enjoy exploring history, consider subscribing and click the bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos.